So Dan's take on Delver is pretty standard. It has 4 Delvers, 4 Snapcaster, 4 Geist, 3 Restoration Angel, and 2 Image. So that's nothing too crazy. It's the Runechanter's Pike version, so it has a lot more instants.
I feel like the craziest thing in his deck is 1 Dismember, which, ooh, that's gonna hurt. You know, but when you're saying that the craziest thing you got going is Dismember, you know, maybe you're not going too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Delver decks are moving towards having Tolerant. Obviously, Dan decided not to go that way. He actually has a Tolerant in the sideboard, and he actually has Blade Splicers in the sideboard, which is interesting. But since he has Restoration Angel, he decided to only bring in Splicer versus the decks that it was good against, which is, I guess, most of. What do you think Blade Splicer is worth bringing in against?
Blade Splicer is incredible against all of the decks with the Undying. So if you're talking about Strangleroot Geist, look at me, I'm a Blade Splicer. You know, if you're talking about zombies, look at me, I'm a Blade Splicer. Some decks, in fact, basically crumple to a single Blade Splicer. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you get to Restoration Angel at once, then it's really hard to come back. 3/3 is just almost too much, especially when it's that efficient.
So one of the things that we have happening at this event is we've asked some of the players, just as a general rule or a general statement about themselves, where they have had their best accomplishments. I did not know that Dan Jordan had 2 PT top 16s.
Wow. Yeah, PT Amsterdam and PT Honolulu, which is Dark Ascension, the most recent one.
And the game begins.
Okay.
It is an island versus a glacial fortress, and no action on turn 2 with another blue-white land there. Looks like glacial fortress. And Dave Thomas here.
Doesn't seem to have a basic. He's just like playing some of the.
Ouch. Geist of Saint Traft on turn 3.
Yeah, without any.
Lucky Image. Dave Thomas is a Sun Titan Image deck.
He has 3 images, so that wasn't like completely out of the question.
And the dreaded 4 mana. Is it a Cryptic Command? No, it's a Restoration Angel. Hiding away. Will he drop it?
I think he's.
There it is.
Okay. And that wasn't countered. Not that David doesn't have any counters in his deck.
And we see a
It's
Forbidden
a
Alchemy.
Yeah, it's an F&M version of it. Every card has like 10 different versions nowadays.
Yeah, I actually really struggle with a lot of the alternate art, mostly because I usually find an art I like and stick with it.
He actually put an alternate art Oblivion Ring into the graveyard, which is also a little bit unusual. Okay.
Back to Dave Thomas.
It's a lot
Plays a 4th come into play sorry, a 3rd. No, I'm wrong.
Fourth? No,
it's
4.
his 3rd come into play tapped, right? Because he did lay.
No, he actually it was 4.
All 4 were tapped. He's preparing for gates.
So he casts another Forbidden Alchemy. Hasn't put into the graveyard Unburial Rites or a Lingering Souls yet, which is like obviously the best thing you could do.
Cavern of Souls probably on Giant,
yes.
And there's a Giant.
And he does have a image in the graveyard and an Oblivion Ring, so I suspect that's how the chain's going to work.
Let me check. Is that a Giant? Is it?
Yes.
Oh, it's a Giant. That's too bad for me.
And he might be checking to see if he can bounce it in response to the return, so that the image can't copy the Giant. But if he waits for the image to come into play, then it can copy a Giant.
Yes. So the conundrum essentially is Dave has not. It's like, does he want to make that happen? I think he probably would want to make that bounce happen, right? Like.
Yeah, because I think he wants to kill the. I mean, if presuming that he does have a Vapor Snag in his hand, he'll probably want to kill the image. But if he kills the image, then he actually gets the Oblivion Ring, which is something he doesn't necessarily want. Oh, so
snag.
So snag. So he's forced to copy a Restoration Angel, and actually it dies because it's forced to blink something.
Well, it can't blink an angel.
It can't blink itself.
Since it's an angel, it can't blink itself.
That's right. My bad. So he has a gut shot that he may be using to deal with the...
And this basically just sets up the same problem for him next turn, is the problem. That Cavern of Souls is something I was talking about with Lou Laskin this morning. Cavern of Souls plus something nasty is something that Blue-White Delver has a problem with, because what is it going to do?
Yeah, no.
It has to kill you before that stuff matters.
So Dan drew a second gut shot. So he's almost definitely going to use it to clear the way, because those gut shots aren't very good in this matchup. Yeah, there he goes. Takes 2 and then he attacks, putting Dave down to 10, I think, unless he's already yep, down to 10.
Now let's pretend that David Thomas does the same thing. What can happen is Dan Jordan can go through the same sequence of plays, but throw in a Snapcaster to make it happen.
Yeah. So still.
That would represent 6 damage between the Vapor Snag, the Restoration Angel, and the Snapcaster.
Yeah, David Thomas is not really in a great position, I think.
Oh, man.
Doesn't really have anything. He does have some point removal in his deck. He has 2 Go for the Throats and 1 Doomblade.
And he uses one.
Yep.
There's a Dan Jordan uses a Restoration Angel at end of turn. Dave Thomas goes, well, I'm going to kill while you're tapped out. So the one replaces the other, but I think I see a Forbidden Alchemy in David Thomas's hand.
Yep, I think you're right. And trying to see what else is.
David at 7 now. The clock is ticking.
And in Dan's hand, he has a Delver, a Snapcaster, an Island, which he just played. Oh no, it's an image, not a Snap.
And he images the angel. He can't target his own angel to untap it there. That's what he's checking on, not an angel.
Yep.
And here we go. Forbidden Alchemy, number 3, I believe.
Yeah, the 3 Day of Judgments in David's deck. I would be, unless he's like really, really confident that he can handle a Day of Judgment. I don't know if I would have played the second image. There's a day, and he doesn't really have something to that. So now Dan's kind of offense has been slowed pretty significantly, and he has a Snapcaster and a Gut Shot in hand.
Not a great hand here for where he's at.
Yeah.
He goes with the Snapcaster.
And he
does the Gut Shot.
Just Gut Shots him.
Take 1, go to 6.
Oh, so he's going to try and...
He's going to try to get him.
Yeah. Problem is, I think Dave he has the 1 Snapcaster in his deck in his hand. Also, 1 Thragtusk is going to be like backbreaking here if he actually has it.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here in the booth with the Ben Sec. This is round 5 of 16 rounds of Standard. There'll be 8 today, 4 today, 4 tomorrow. We see our Rune Chanter's Pike, equip, attack, and that's going to get this Tiago Chan out of David Thomas's hand.
That's right.
It's going to be chumping.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything to actually flash back, so I think it's just going to be on chump duty. The thing is, Dan actually has a Gut Shot in hand, so he's probably going to use it.
That's it.
That might just be it.
I think it is. Let's do a quick count of that graveyard, make sure it's enough damage. Oh, not quite.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And he has a Titan in hand.
Oh, wow. I wonder how low he is. 2 life, just a little shy.
Yeah, no.
And we're going to get Titan, gets image, gets...
Probably
is it another
O-ring.
image, and then gets O-ring?
I think there's only 1 image.
Okay.
But...
Ouch. And... Wow.
So...
My expectation is that...
that's not...
This is the verge of being over here now.
Yeah, no, it's like...
what can Dan do? Dan, if he has a Restoration Angel, that would be the best possible draw for him right now.
Yeah, he actually has a shot if he drew Restoration Angel. I can't help but think if he didn't play like that image, like into a Solar Flare, the second image to copy the Angel into the Day of Judgment was kind of like a little bit aggressive. I understand image isn't that great in your hand against this kind of deck.
They attack. Their triggers do all kinds of mean things, including bring back a land and a Snapcaster. The Snapcaster can target something like a Go for the Throat, which I think is probably what's happening. It could be any other number of spells.
Oh, no,
to Ponder?
Is a Ponder, yeah.
Ponder, okay. And Ponder is not terrible at this stage in the game when there's such a small library left.
Yeah.
David Thomas leaves it on top. I don't know what's on top there.
It's a Thrag Tusk.
Oh boy.
I think that is going to be the nail. It's like puts him back up to 7. He's dead.
Yeah, I think the card that Dan Jordan could have drawn, if he draws Phantasmal Image, copies the Sun Titan, brings back Phantasmal Image.
Yeah, I mean, that's what would have happened, I think, if he just kept the Phantasmal Image in his hand, like, rather than the copying it and putting it, like, essentially putting David on Day of Judgment or no. I think David really had to have played a Day of Judgment anyway, so I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do.
Now, David Thomas's deck is not maximized in the main deck for a Delver opponent. One of the cards you usually see from this style of deck that really makes it fight well against Delver decks is Lingering Souls. Now, he only has 2 in the main, but you go to his sideboard, there are the other 2, so he has access to 4 Lingering Souls. And then, in terms of his quick responses, he's got Deadweight in his sideboard as well, and Divine Offering. So he's actually got a really nice package of cards here for this. Deadweight, amazingly, with Sun Titan, can even kill a Geist of St. Trapt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does give them an early answer to a quick Delver, something that they need as many answers to as possible. The Divine Offering is less good. I mean, he does have 2 Rune Chanter's Pikes, but the Blade Splicers are not in the main. I presume he probably will bring them in because they're actually pretty good against an attrition-based matchup like this. But usually, and he probably will bring in Talrand. Talrand actually has a habit of really presenting lethal out of nowhere sometimes.
You know, the sideboard I like for this is a little bit different than that. I think it's Talrand and Dissipate, and just running. Here are my Dissipates to stop your powerful late game. Often because David Thomas is going to be forced to tap out to do things. Now, unfortunately for that kind of plan, since David Thomas's a lot of his work is done with creatures, this means that Cavern of Souls, which he has 3 of, is going to be very good against the Dissipate style of plan. But Dissipates are for decks like David's. Stopping a late game Day, for example, very, very potent.
No, for sure. Okay. Do we know what record these players are?
I believe that these players are both 4-0, but I will verify that.
Yeah. Darren Jordan, definitely part of a fairly new guard of players from the East Coast, I guess. They're all around, I guess, but he's put up some great finishes at Pro Tours, and actually I think was very, very close to making top 8 at Honolulu. He took a late stumble. David Thomas, he actually was second at the SCG Atlanta in the Legacy portion, Legacy Open in 2011, and he actually was first at the Kansas City SCG Open, also in Legacy. So I think he definitely fancies himself as a Legacy specialist. And since he was 4-0 in not counting buys, he obviously has performed.
Right. One of the things about people that are specialists in Legacy, it often means a real dedication to a particular archetype. Just Legacy really does reward an intimate knowledge of a deck as it faces the world, basically. Dan Jordan also thinks of himself as more of a Legacy player, but in my experience watching him play, like most of the times I've seen him win, I feel like I see him doing really well in Standard all the time.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely a much more of a jack of all trades, or he's very good at multiple formats at least. So Dan takes a mulligan. David looks like he's holding on. I was going to say that the Day of Judgment is a big loss for this deck, with rotating out M12, but the Supreme, what's it called?
The Verdict, I
yeah,
believe?
Supreme Verdict really fits perfectly in this kind of deck. It's, you know, 2 white, a blue, and 1, so it's basically the same cost. This deck gets blue pretty easily, so I can't see it being too much of a trouble casting it.
It certainly makes it a touch harder, but Supreme Verdict, which basically is Day of Judgment can't be countered for white, blue 1. It's certainly a touch harder, but you know what? These decks generally already want that color, both colors to be functioning properly.
Yeah, but the one thing may actually be true is that counter magic isn't that good after this rotation. We lose mana leak, sure, negate's still around, and that's the card that probably hurts the most. Dissipate gets played a little bit, but not a ton. Maybe there isn't going to be that much counter magic anyway to be not counted for.
I actually think Supreme Verdict, its real impact is going to be in Legacy.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Dan Jordan opens up with Gitaxian Probe. So close last game to taking David Thomas down, but not quite. We see that deadweight.
Yeah, we have the deadweight. We have a Forbidden Alchemy, a Ponder, and 4 other land. So this is a relatively slow hand, I guess. I mean, not that slow. He has all the land and cards to cast in early turns. Let's see. Dan actually has another Gitaxian Probe. I think he doesn't have another 1-drop. Yeah, so he's just going to play this
Cast
probe.
The probe, look again, but for mana this time.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion you should probably play that for free, because if you draw the Delver, you got to feel pretty bad. Like, it's a pretty big difference. Like,
yeah,
playing it turn 1 and 2.
And 18 and 16 are not much different in this matchup. 20 and 18 are actually a very significant difference against Solar Flare, but 18 and 16 are very nearly the same thing. Just basically because often that deck hits in bursts of 6.
Yeah. Basically, Sun Titans and their copies.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like Dan has any offense. I don't see any guys. I see, I think, both Rune Chanter's Pikes in his hand. Maybe one of them. I see at least one of them. And a mana leak. So Dave plays at Evolving Wilds. And he draws a Moreland Haunt, which is usually actually pretty good against a deck like this, where it's a little bit he's going to get Wrath a couple times, but the problem is he has no creatures, so the Haunt is not going to do much at all. He declines to play the Runechanter's Pike, mainly because I think he wants to sit on the mana leak.
It's totally reasonable. I mean, one of the things that mana leak could stop even, say a Forbidden, well, I was going to say like a Ponder or something. If you think that this game, that David is relying on his mana, his library manipulation, that mana leak might not even be alive later, but a Ponder might matter.
A lot of times in these matchups, you that have a lot of land or go a long time, you often try and avoid playing mana leak or just burning it really early. So he plays Lingering Souls. Now I think he's just thinking about mana leaking it. Okay.
Now, Lingering Souls is such a difficult card for Delver. And now you do see the Blade Splicers. Dan did bring those in.
It's 2 creatures actually for his Moreland Haunt, which is actually very helpful. Though I'm sure he would rather have those creatures in his hand at this time. I think he's thinking about mana leaking here.
And he does it. I mean, he wants to keep the board a little bit clear so that he doesn't get overwhelmed. I mean, a Lingering Souls by itself can be such a great boon to a deck like Solar Flare for buying time. Countering it feels terrible.
Yeah, no, doesn't feel good. I will agree. He has a mana leak. I wonder, okay, so he didn't flash it back, which indicates that he's got something. I mean, we know that he has a Forbidden Alchemy, so that's what's going to happen. The thing is now, what I presume is going to happen is Dan's going to land a Runechanter's Pike for I think it's +3. So, which actually is, I wouldn't say it's like, oh, he's not going to go for the Runechanter's Pike, or if he does, he's not going to equip it. No, he just Blade Splicer. I would have. I wonder. Like I like going for a Runechanter's Pike there because it allows the player to, kind of forces him to do something in the air. The turns off the other Lingering Souls other than chump blockers. This play here, I wouldn't say exposes him to Day of Judgment, but encourages it.
We see a Phantasmal Image copying Blade Splicer, and 3 mana up, so Mana Leak won't stop it. Both these players, just confirming once again that both these players are currently undefeated.
So Dan is once again thinking about Mana Leaking the other half of the Lingering Souls. It's the true 2-for-1. I think he's probably going to do it. Yeah, because I think that Mana Leak is getting worse for one, and I think he wants to be able to equip the Pike next turn on the flyer, and then try and... Oh, okay.
So we see a dead weight on Blade Splicer.
What it does is turn off the first strike from the Golem, which means that he has Golem superiority and can attack with it later, or can attack with his own.
And here we see a Vapor Snag on the other Golem. So, Golem superiority, well, whatever. I've got a Golem, how's yours? You don't got one at all. And now we see the block, the snap block, if you will, with the Phantasmal Image. We probably have Land and Sun Titan?
Yeah, I think so.
Boom, boom, boom.
That is not good for Dan. So, obviously that image comes back, copying the Sun Titan, and then the ring on the Pike.
Yeah, this Solar Flare variants, they were gobbling up Delver variants not so long ago.
Yeah, no. I really think, I mean, even though it didn't come in this game, the existence of Cavernous Souls makes it really a ton better, like in this matchup.
We see a land from David Thomas, comes in for 12, gets back a deadweight and a land. Ouch.
Yep. Now Dan actually has to chump unless he had something in his hand, because he's at 11 and he's hitting for 6. Oh, am I...
Thrag Tusk. Insult to injury.
Yep. I think this one's all over by the sharding.
Yeah, I'm thinking no. Hey. Goodbye. Dan Jordan, I don't see any outs in his deck for this one.
No, I mean the best card he could have is an image himself, and that's probably nowhere near as good as an image for David. There is a Vapor Snag in his hand, so he probably won't die this turn.
He's doing fine. He's not going to die right now.
It's still good. Oh no, what's happening here? 7. Oh, he's just playing an alchemy. Is in the main phase alchemy?
It's either main phase or just to get more things to, bring back.
That's fair. Seems a little unnecessary for me, but I understand.
And this opens up an opportunity for Dan Jordan to still not have much to do.
No, I don't. I think it's. I'm trying to think of the best. He has to draw a Tolerant and then a lot of cantrips.
That's fair. Okay, yeah. Let's pretend he draws a Tolerant and then chains Ponders.
Yes.
All the way into infinity.
Well, 2 Ponders, then he could chain into Taxing Probe twice.
Snag the Sun Titan in combat before attackers are declared. Snag the Phantasmal Image.
Yeah.
Haha, take that.
Oh. Okay. So I guess if he draws... No, I just can't see anything like significant here.
Rune Chanter's Pike right now.
Yeah, it has to be right now, and I don't know where it puts him. Because he still, obviously, is facing a Sun Titan on the other side.
Take two.
It's a valiant effort. I think he drew a Day of Judgment.
Just in case he needed to do anything else. Sun Titan. And he's got the cavern there.
Yep. He's obviously getting back the image that died last turn.
How many cards in your hand, asks Dan Jordan.
Too many.
I'm just curious how big your Still Had All D's is going to be.
I'm not sure what Dan is thinking about here. I guess he might have drawn a Snapcaster, which means that, I mean, that's why he's looking in his graveyard all the time. Yep.
And what is the final copy going to bring? Oh, wow. Image on Thragtusk. Just
not bad.
Buffering up that life, just because. And in for 5. Block, and the Thragtusk turns into a beast.
Okay. Oh, Ponder. No, I think...
Dissipates and some other stuff.
A little late.
Ponder number 2. Dissipate Snapcaster.
I think that also doesn't do anything.
He's like, that's it. That's it.
he fought pretty hard. So David Thomas defeats Dan Jordan 2-0. Just